I'm going to be showing you how I built my Ancestry family tree from 0 people to over 1,400 people. I started this 6 years ago. It doesn't really take years. Probably the bulk of it I did in the first few months, and then, you know, bit by bit you add people to it. Just going to be showing you the websites I used, how I did it, and yeah. So first of all, start with what you know. Yeah, you know more than you think. So start with everybody in your family who you know. Just piece it all together to get a good foundation. Start with you, your siblings, your parents, everything, cousins, everybody that you know, and just put that on there. Secondly, speak to the oldest relatives in your family and get as much information as you can from them about their ancestors. Do you know what I mean? Anybody, just get as much information as you can. Obviously, I'm born in England. My parents are born in England, but all 4 of my grandparents were born in Jamaica. So the tricky thing about that is the government names you probably never heard of. Do you know what I mean? So that's the only tricky part. But obviously you get past that, like I did. I'm gonna show you. So this is what it looks like when you join Ancestry and you start building a tree. So you just start with yourself, obviously. Obviously this is not me, just any. So just gonna be doing it for illustrative purposes, just a random name. So then this is what it looks like when you add somebody. You've got female, living, date of birth, say the 9th of July 1990. Place of birth, just put anything. Just any random place I can think of. And then that's what it looks like. And you add dad, say put him dead just to see what it looks like. Say 1st of January 1960. Birthplace, and it's got every place that you can think of. Obviously Ancestry has. So just say, for example, for Antonio in Jamaica, it's gonna come up. And they died 1st of January 2005. They died. So they died. Tottenham. So then this is what I come up with. When you just add a couple people, it's gonna name the family tree. Just save tree. And this is what it looks like. You right click and just quickly edit the person, anything you want to change. And if you want to add like a child, click add relative. So this is gonna be, it's anybody you can add, mum, anybody. So let's say you want to add a son, and this is what it's gonna come up with. And just to show you what it would look like, just for example, so any girl is going to be red, any boy is going to be blue. This is what it looks like. And you just add everything. Also show you how to add details. You can add so many details, and it gives you like a full overview of this person. So you can add a fact. Let's do marriage. It's going to be a common one that you will add. So say they got married in 1st of January 2020. So they got married in Wandsworth again. You know, you can add a description, you add pictures, and you can add a source, which is going to be like, you know, the proof basically. Sometimes it's good to add documents, because then it just makes it so much easier. If you have to go back over something, you can double check your facts in case you put in the wrong date or something doesn't add up. And then you can find someone in the tree who is a spouse. Obviously I don't have anybody, but you can just add, say, somebody, just random names, you know. And that's what it would look like. Save. So then it will show you, you know, Jasmine Wilson was married, and it shows you the age and everything like that. Yeah, so it will show you, you know, they were 14 when their dad died, 29 when they got married. And when you go back to the tree now, so you can add any sort of relative, you know, you can even add the husbands if they previously had children or whatever. It's all going to show up properly. So obviously Jake is not going to be Luke's son, so you can remove him as the father. So to remove Luke Jones as the dad, you click on edit and edit relationships. So you can even change it, but you know, step, foster, whatever it is, which is quite good. Just remove relationship. And then on the tree now, it's gonna have one line to show that is Jasmine's son, not Luke's. And if you was to add a child for Luke, it's gonna do the same thing. And then when you add a sibling, add relative. So you wanna add a brother. His name is gonna be Winston. Obviously it says unknown mother because I haven't added any mother. These are just made up people. So then it's Jasmine's siblings. It's Winston, and then you're just gonna carry on further, and then so that is me. So it's gonna show my relation to Winston is brother. You know, any relation is gonna show you. Any person in your tree is going to show you how you are related to them. And then if you want to delete somebody, you go back into view profile, edit, and delete person. It's got all of Arthur's details, you know. He had his first daughter when he had his daughter when he was 30, and he died when he was 45. You know, it calculates everything. And if you want to find somebody in the tree, if you've got a lot of people in your tree, obviously I don't know how many people, but if you want to find someone, you just type in, you know, it'll come up. So now we will search using Ancestry. So there are a few websites. Well, I primarily use another website to search. I don't really use Ancestry, but I'll just show you how to use Ancestry. I did sometimes, but Ancestry, you need a subscription to get a lot of information. So there's another website that I use, which is, you know, it's free, and I get all the information that I need. So to search someone, you know, click birth. Obviously it's going to be like a birth record or whatever. So say you want to search for a man called Dominic, and he was born in, let's say he was born in St. Thomas in Jamaica. And let's just see what comes up, so then, instead of narrowing it down too much. So you see, like, to get all of this, you need to upgrade. So this is if you have a subscription. If you are just joining Ancestry, they are going to give you a free trial, if I'm not mistaken. That's what they did with me. I think, yeah, you do get a free trial. But Ancestry, I only use it to confirm stuff from the other website that I use. But obviously, if you have a subscription, that's fine. Is it worth getting a subscription? If you are a beginner, yeah, because it's easier. And with Ancestry, you know, you can they automatically link people to your family tree instead of having to do everything manually. Like, you know how I added all the people in? You would have to do that with every single person. With Ancestry, you don't have to do that at all. If they have the record, you just automatically add it. So if you're a beginner, I would recommend, but yeah, you can. But if you are good with a computer and stuff like that, and you have a little bit of understanding about genealogy, then I wouldn't obviously save the money when you can. But it's good, even if they give you, especially if they give you a free trial, I would do it. Obviously I wouldn't say no, yeah, do it if they give you a free trial, but the free trial is good because then you can learn how to use Ancestry. But also the other thing is that the only downside is that sometimes they give you hints of relatives, but it's going to be blurred out if you don't have a paid version. So it's a bit annoying, and you're going to have to go and find it manually. So it's a bit more time consuming, but unless you want to spend how much money a month on Ancestry, you know, and you're not using it every single day, you know, it is, I don't know, but it's just because I learned how to find this information. There's nothing really that Ancestry hasn't hinted to me that I have not been able to find. Basically, it's just, obviously, once you increase your skill and, you know, really learn how to do this, then yeah, if you have a name, you can search it if it is in someone else's family tree. But most of the time, I don't know, like more than half of the time, people's family trees are going to be private. So if it's private, you cannot see what is in there, but you can request to access someone's tree. But, you know, some people, they just have an account, they don't really go on it frequently, so you might not get a response. So it's just the only tricky thing. But sometimes obviously the tree is public, so then you can see what is in the tree. You know, it's just up to some people are public, some people are private, you know what I mean? So obviously my ancestral records, you know, going past my grandparents and stuff like that, you have to have a lot of leeway, because the names that they have are not necessarily going to be the names on their birth certificate, you know what I mean? Even if it is a government name, they might just change the name when the baby is born, especially Windrush era, where they're coming over, they just might put a different name for whatever reason, you know what I mean? And age, so some people might have been 14, but you needed to be 18 for whatever reason, like say to be able to get married. So say someone was 14, and then you got that record, what the year they were born. Say you got the record the year they were born, but then they got married a year, like say 14 years after they were born, but it says their age says 18. Don't just say, oh, it's not the same person. It probably is, but you know, they can just put any age. So you have to have a lot of leeway with the Jamaican records, and yeah, leeway with the age and the names. You know what I mean? And obviously, and most of the times they might have used their middle name as their first name. Do you know what I mean? Or a completely different name. And another thing, you're not going to be able to find every single person, because a lot of the times in Jamaica, sometimes they just did not register birth. It wasn't something that was mandatory. Obviously, most people did, but sometimes they didn't. You know what I mean? So, and they just might pop up somewhere else, like they got married, but you don't have a birth record. You just think, okay, were they born somewhere else? They're born there, but there was just no birth record. Do you know what I mean? Or sometimes, because all the records I've online are digitized, so a lot of them got destroyed or lost. You know what I mean? So that's why you're not going to have every single record. But thankfully for me, I found so many. You know what I mean? But the other thing is, after the year around the 1930s, if you're looking for an ancestor born before, you have more luck. You have a lot of success finding a relative, if they were born before 1930. If they were born after 1930, you're most likely not gonna find anything. So especially like 19, but then there are a lot of records, only birth records if the baby died when it was born. But then after about 1940, there's literally hardly any records. So obviously it's not good for finding people born in the last 80 years, basically, or in the last 80 to 90 years. It's not really great. Do you know what I mean? It's not good. But past that, before that, it is amazing for finding ancestors. So the website I mainly use to find all my ancestors is called familysearch.org. It is a really great website for finding everything, or not everything, but you know what I mean. So this is what it looks like. So say, let's just do a search. So you go and search, you click records. There's so many Jamaican records on this website. So say you got a name. Let's say you want to find Sandra, and she was born in Port Maria in St. Mary. So Sandra, Port Maria, St. Mary. So even this, I don't even know what this type of event is, but then it looks, obviously it's an American one. It shows where she was born and when she died. Let's do a different name. Let's do, what is a really common name? Let's just do Lucy. So it will come up with that if there are no records. So you got Lucy, all these born 1838, 80s, old times, you know, and it shows you the parents, you know, parents. Let's see what this looks like, this one here. This actual record, this actual picture of the record. So this is the actual record. This is what it looks like from 1888. And this is crazy. This is like 140 years old, you know. So yeah, this is what all the records look like. The birth records, this is what it's going to look like when you're doing this. Then you can find, well, say you can find anybody, but you will have good success finding your ancestors. You will, you know, have good success finding your ancestors. That's what it looks like. And it's got, you know, the baby's name, sex, the dad's name, and the mum's name. You know, it's got all the information, and from there you can go on to type in. So let's type in Samuel Livingston. Typed in Samuel Livingston, St. Mary. And this looks like it's the same person. This is a parent. So the child was called Samuel Livingston. He had another child. What's this child's name? Yeah, because the other one was called Raymond. And you can actually click on the record, and sometimes you can click on the people to help with the search to see what else comes up. So these are all the records for Sarah, and you can search for marriages as well. Okay, so here is a marriage record that's going to show you each person's father's name and how old each person was when they got married. So this is just a random one I found, and it says occupation as well. So I can't really read that, but looks like William was 38 and Jane was 37, and it shows their address and the father's names. That is so cool. Oh my gosh, it's so cool. So spinster, so she was unmarried before. I don't know what that occupation is, you know, but yeah, so if their husband was previously, so if a lady got married and her husband died, it would say widow. Same for the man, and whatever their condition is, just going to say that, obviously, self-explanatory. So yeah, so from there, I just get all this information, and then obviously you have tabs. You know, you get the information and you add it to, you know, Ancestry family tree. That's just literally how I did it. I used to save all the documents like the one I just showed you, but I don't do that anymore because it's so time consuming. You know what I mean? And all these random people, their documents are saved to your computer. Not random, but it's like, you know, it's not really necessary. So I don't really do that. You know, I just make sure that I have the correct information to go onto the person's, you know, onto the person. So the next part, I'm going to show you like the DNA bit. I did personally do a DNA test. Obviously that's up to people if they want to do it or not. I know some people have reservations about this sort of things, but I cared more about finding potential family who I don't know than, you know, trivial things. Or maybe not trivial, who knows. But yeah, so basically I ordered it offline. I can't remember how much it was, like £30 I think. It was a discount at the time. And then the kit gets sent to your house. You give the sample in like a test tube or whatever it was. You send it off. It did take maybe about 3 weeks or so. You know, it shows your regions where you're from. You know, 36, you know, the percentage and everything like that. And it goes into a bit of detail if you really care. You know, ancestral regions by parent. Supposedly, I don't know how they know this, but I'm not really sure how they can know that. What they know is maternal and paternal DNA. I'm not 100% sure. So it's just how accurate is it when it comes to the parent side? Do you know what I mean? Yeah, so then the other cool thing about the DNA part, it shows you all your other relatives who have also done a DNA test. I didn't actually really, I thought about it a little bit, but before I got my results, but I never thought it would be so many. They found me over 6,000 relatives. Yeah, it's a lot of people, and those are the only people who have actually done a DNA test. Do you know what I mean? So it's so many relatives, so many people, and it shows you how you're related, which side of it's a paternal and maternal side. It shows you everything. Let's go into this person, for example. It shows the, you know, either your your second cousin once removed, half first cousin, all these things. You know. But yeah. It's good, you know, if you don't really know who your family are, you know, you can find really close family members, potentially, or, you know, uncover a lot of things. So this other website that I use, it has a lot of enslavement records from enslaved people in Jamaica, and it is good to use if you have a name of an ancestor from that time period, the late 1700s or the early 1800s. You know what I mean? I was able to find my own relatives on there who were either slave owners or enslaved people. You know what I mean? And then you've got the manumissions, which is where they freed the slaves and paid them money. I was able to find records of, it was like my 5th great grandmother was a white lady, or 4th great grandmother, something like that. 4th or 5th. And she was a white lady, she was a slave owner, and then she set the slaves free. You know what I mean? I was able to actually find records because you can kind of have a hint with a name. The name was really British. It was like, it was a really common name, like Jade Smith. Yeah, it's not, and especially in that time, you know, it's not really going to be a black person. So I thought she must have been a slave owner. Do you know what I mean? Or an enslavement owner. So yeah, so you can find records like that. So this website is called Jamaica Family Search. It's an amazing website, but it is really like Windows 98, you know, with all due respect. But, you know, at least it's simple and basic. So this website, it has pages of documents. So it's got landowners, you know, it's got a directory. For example, let's click here. You know, it's a directory of businesses and people in Kingston and with their address. You know, for example, William Gardner, he was a saddler on Rum Lane. These are most likely not, you know, African people. I don't know, but probably not, I'm not sure. You know, and it's just got so many things on this website. And let's go back. So it's got Jewish births, you know, who's who, handbook. It's got old Gleaner records. Let's do the slaves. It's got a lot of information and stuff, like so much information, you know, and it's got number of slaves shipped, you know, and it's got records of that, you know, so many records, you know, of number of ships and vessels in that year, number of people imported, number of people exported, and how many were actually kept on the island. You know, it's got so many things. So and it's got runaway slave names. So say, for example, this person from Rockford, a man named Bristol, belonging to, these are obviously two enslavement owners, and what it looked like, you know, and the reward is a gun. It's just got so many things. But for the enslavement records, let's go on to that. And see, for example, this record is slave count by each parish. This is 1788. It's got the maroons there. It's got so much. This website is absolutely amazing. This website is not really for, you can get a lot of information about your specific ancestors necessarily, but it's good for overall general information about Jamaican history and, you know, just what things were like. And then see, this one is list of slaves on Golden Grove Estate. I think this must be St. Thomas. Yes, Golden Grove is in St. Thomas. 30th of June, 1790. You know, the names. This is all African names. You know? African names. But say you had Francis Bowen in your family tree. That person was enslaved and they were a planter, you know. And then there's when they got married. So yeah. So that is how I did my family tree, and I really hope I've done it in enough detail. If you have any questions or anything you want to ask me, if I didn't clarify or if I just skipped over, just mention it in the comments and I'll answer it. But that is literally how I did it.